already, but okay. Good afternoon. At some point in our lives, we will all make a speech, whether it's a class assignment, a conference presentation, or a eulogy for a loved one. My name is Jenny Babbitt. I would like to speak to you today on informative and persuasive speeches. I will explain in detail the components of each and how they are similar and how they are different. There's been many historic speeches. I have a few here. Dr. Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream, President Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, and President JFK's inaugural speech. First, we'll talk about informative speeches. According to Communicating for Results, a guide for business and the profession, informative speeches can provide new and unfamiliar information, extend what the audience knows, or update old information about a topic or issue. There are two types of informative speeches. There's oral briefing and oral report. Oral briefing is normally under 15 minutes. It can be formal or informal. And it normally is for like a supervisor holding a meeting for his staff to talk about updates or news. An oral report are details of facts. They should be about 20 minutes, but they can run longer depending on the type. An example would be a proposal report, proposal presentation that's done at work. The first thing that's vital in informative speeches are audience analysis. Understanding the audience comes in two components, characteristics and types. So we want to know how many people are going to be attending the presentation. Were they there voluntary or were they made to come? Who are they? Are they educated? Do they understand the topic that's being spoken to? Are they familiar with you? Are they family or do they not know you? And then what biases do they have? Do they like you or do they not like you? Understanding the topic choice will help you present. The next is the types of audiences. There's friendly, neutral, uninterested, and hostile. And you present to these different types in different ways. With friendly, you can tell stories, you can have gestures. Neutral audiences, you're not showy but confident. And you always leave room for questions at the end. An uninterested audience is one that you need to be enthusiastic with. You have to get them to pay attention and to want to know what you're speaking about. And you want to limit your main points because you have a shorter attention span with them. And then there's the hostile. You want to stay away from controversial topics and appear as calm and collected as possible. Next, there's the exact purpose statement and topic selection. Sometimes topics are chosen for you, but sometimes you have to decide upon them yourself. So what do you want to accomplish? What do you hope the audience will take away? And what are they going to do with this information? Having a clear and exact purpose statement is going to get attention and help be remembered. Some topic selection examples would be diversity in the workplace, healthcare cost, Mars exploration, telecommuting, and pros and cons of online job seeking. They can be as specified or as open-ended. But normally, the more specified, the more attention span that you will receive. The next important aspect is research. Why would you want to do research? Well, it's important to be educated on your subject. You will receive new ideas and publications about your topic. And one of the more important things to search for are visual aids. A lot of times, I'm a visual learner, and so it's easier for me when there is like a PowerPoint presentation with the information rather than just being spoken to. Sometimes people don't remember it. The different places that you can research are the internet is probably the most popular, but excuse me. You want to make sure that you have credible sources. There are search engines that you can trust more than others, like Google Scholar. There's always library databases and articles. And then most recently, blogs and tweets. But you also want to make sure to research who's writing those blogs and tweets, because anybody can do a blog or tweet these days. Then you can always look for print, and interviews are also a good option for research. There are 4 different types of organization for your informational speech. Topical is the easiest and most popular, normally works best from most to least, known to unknown, familiar to unfamiliar. Spatial or geographical, your main points are according to spatial location. An example of that presentation would be on a park from entrance to exit. The next is chronological pattern. You present an order of occurrence. Another example, a good example of that would be an historical event. And then finally, the causal, the cause and effect. It starts with informational. You want to start with the problem and then show the effect. There are different methods of deliveries as well. There's extemporaneously, and that is not memorized. It's outlined on note cards like I'm doing today. It can vary from each delivery. It's more conversational, better eye contact, and it's more personable than the others. Visual aid is an extension from the first. It's the same, you use note cards. It's not memorized, but you do have like a PowerPoint presentation to help with that. Memorized is probably one of the harder ways. Not many people can do it. It takes lots of time and practice, and there are no helping devices when you lose your place. And then there's manuscript. It's actually harder than it sounds because you have to work on eye contact, having variety in your voice, and making it personable when you're still reading from a prepared script. Top level managers seem to use this, and then people like the President of the United States. To have an effective presentation, you need to be confident and you need to have variety in your voice. Those are the most, in order to be received well, that is the best way to do. Next, since we've done this, we're going to talk about persuasive speeches. Former special assistant and senior speechwriter to President Barack Obama, Adam Frankel, gave 6 great tips for writing a persuasive speech on any topic in a Time Online magazine article. The tips were: write like you talk, tell a story, structure matters, be concise, be authentic, and don't just speak, say something. And according to Business and Professional Communicating in a Digital Age, persuasive speeches are done primarily to advocate some sort of attitudes, beliefs, or behaviors. And just like informative, we're going to start with analyzing your expectant audience needs. The first step is you're going to need to identify what opinion leaders are going to be in your audience, and then show how are you going to fulfill their need. You always want to start with a lower need and work your way up, because once you have their trust and you can fulfill that, it's easier as you go on. An exact purpose statement with here is also very vital. Are you going to reinforce a current belief, inspire an agreement, or request a specific action? Understanding this will help you figure out how you will research and write your presentation. Another vital important step is being credible. You need to be trustworthy, believable. Competency is important. You need to be educated and knowledgeable about the subject. Dynamism, enthusiastic. You're trying to persuade someone, so you need to believe it so they can believe it. And objectivity, having an open mind and not being biased on their beliefs and finding a way with that to change their minds. Research is also done in a persuasive speech. It is very important. You need to find a variety of supporting materials to add interest, to support your arguments, and to clarify. Without that, if you're not if you don't have clarification, they're not going to want to change their minds, and they're not going to keep in mind of what you are saying in your persuasive speech. And there are 6 different organizational methods for persuasive speeches. There's the claim and reasons pattern that uses both. You can either have inductive reasoning or deductive reasoning. In inductive, you present your evidence and build your conclusion, and in deductive, you present conclusion and then provide support. In causal pattern, it's effect to action solution, so there's no coincidence. You have to do this to get this desired effect. That's the only way it works with that scenario. Problem solution pattern has, it's either solution benefits or solution action. So there's a problem and there either is going to be a benefit or you're going to act on something. Comparative advantage pattern is the audience agrees on the problem, but they don't agree on the solution. And so you're going to focus primarily on the solution while briefly mentioning the issue in the beginning. And the last two are criteria satisfaction pattern. Your audience, okay, so you establish a criteria to show your plan. And then the motivated sequence is an attention step. It has a need step, a satisfaction step, visualization, and then an action step. And at the end of this, you need to require a commitment from the audience in order to have your presentation make sense. Then you prepare an outline. You're going to have, an outline is also done in an informational speech, but in a persuasive speech it holds more importance because of wanting to persuade people to do what they need to do. And so you'll have your introduction, your body, and then your conclusion. Something to think about when doing a persuasive speech is ethical. You always want to be honest, influence, but make sure that there is a choice. The audience has a choice. They don't have to do what you're wanting them to do. It is unethical to manipulate, coerce, or force, especially using fear in order to have someone believe your issue and your action. And then finally, practice makes perfect. The 3 big R's: rehearse, record, repeat. This is going to make sure in a persuasive speech, if there's any apprehension, that comes off as less credibility, and you want to be as credible and to get them to be on your side. So today we talked about informative and persuasive speeches. Similarities would be the audience analysis. In each, you need to know who you're speaking to. There needs to be ample research done to make sure you know what you're talking about, and then competency of delivery. In differences, there's a different purpose. Information, you are trying to teach someone to tell them. In persuasive speech, you are trying to convince them. And then there's differences in the organization of how you prepare for these 2 different types of speeches. And finally, there are many different aspects to completing a well-received speech, and I hope the information I've given you today helps in future speeches you have to complete and be well-received and remembered. Thank you.
Oh crap, I had